I had always loved adventure, so when the opportunity arose to hitchhike across the country, I couldn't resist. The freedom of the open road and the kindness of strangers fascinated me, but little did I know, this journey would lead me to an experience beyond my wildest nightmares. It was a sweltering day in the heart of the desert when I found myself standing on the side of the road, thumb out, waiting for a ride. Hours passed, and just when I was beginning to lose hope, a bizarre shimmering light appeared on the horizon. At first, I thought it was a mirage, a cruel trick of the desert sun. But as it drew closer, it became unmistakably real, an alien ship. My heart raced as the metallic vessel landed with an eerie grace. Its otherworldly design sent shivers down my spine. I was both terrified and mesmerized as the hatch slowly opened, revealing a group of alien beings, their limbs long and spindly, their skin a ghastly pale gray. Curiosity overcame my fear, and I crept closer, hiding behind a rocky outcrop to get a better view. The aliens were engrossed in their work, assembling an intricate structure that seemed to be drilling into the ground. I couldn't comprehend its purpose, but it radiated an unsettling aura. As I watched, a sudden chill ran down my spine, and I had the unnerving sensation of being watched. My heart pounded like a drum, and a cold sweat formed on my brow. The aliens turned in my direction, their large obsidian eyes locking into mine. Panic surged through me as the clicking sounds filled the air, a strange, rhythmic pattern that seemed to emanate from the aliens themselves. My head throbbed with pain, and my vision blurred until everything faded to black. When I woke, it was as if I had been in a nightmare. I was lying in the desert sand, disoriented and gasping for breath. The ship, the aliens, and the structure were all gone. The desert stretched before me, untouched by any alien presence. I questioned my sanity, doubting the reality of what I had just witnessed. Had it been an hallucination brought on by the unforgiving desert sun and exhaustion? It all seemed too surreal, too impossible. With trembling legs, I got to my feet and stumbled back to the road. As I continued my hitchhiking journey, I couldn't escape the nagging feeling that I had witnessed something beyond human comprehension. The memories of the aliens, their eerie clicking sounds, and the searing pain in my head haunted me, leaving me to question the boundaries of reality and the true nature of the universe. To this day, I can't be sure if what I experienced was real or a delusion born from the scorching desert and my imagination. But one thing was certain: I would never look at the night sky the same way again, wondering if somewhere out there, those enigmatic beings were watching, and if one day they might return to reveal the secrets of their existence. It was a moonless night in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains when I found myself hitchhiking along a desolate highway. The shadows of the trees loomed overhead, and the silence was deafening. As the minutes turned into hours, I was left with no choice but to venture off the highway and into the woods, looking for a place to rest for the night. The forest was eerie, with the only source of light being the faint glow of stars above. My footsteps on the uneven ground were barely audible as I wandered deeper into the unknown. The air grew cold, and an unsettling feeling crept over me. I stumbled upon an overgrown trail and decided to follow it. As I walked deeper into the woods, the distant sound of chanting reached my ears. My heart raced as I realized the chanting was getting louder, accompanied by flickering flames. A sense of dread washed over me, and I cautiously approached the source of the commotion. Hidden in the shadows, I peered through the thick foliage and gasped in horror. Before me stood 5 figures draped in black robes, encircling a roaring bonfire. Their voices melded into an cacophony of eerie chants, their faces concealed by hooded cloaks. In the flickering firelight, I saw the sight of a dog, its whimpering pleas for mercy drowned out by the sinister ritual. I should have turned and fled right then, but curiosity, mixed with fear, held me in place. My heart pounded as I watched the cultists perform their gruesome sacrifice, the voices growing more frenzied with each passing moment. Then, in a moment of sheer terror, I accidentally snapped a twig beneath my foot. The sound echoed through the forest, and the cultists froze, their heads turning in unison towards my hiding spot. Panic surged through me, and I knew I had to escape before they found me. I slipped away from my hiding place, my every movement as stealthy as possible, but it was too late. One of the robed figures pointed in my direction, and the chanting abruptly stopped. Their eyes, cold and soulless, looked into mine. Without hesitation, I sprinted through the dense underbrush, my heart pounding in my chest. The cultists gave chase, their footsteps echoing behind me as they closed in. The forest became a twisted labyrinth, and I stumbled over roots and rocks, desperate to evade my pursuers. The fear coursing through me gave me newfound strength, and I pushed myself harder. My breath came in ragged gasps, and my legs burned with exhaustion, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't let them catch me. Just when it seemed I could run no further, I burst out of the woods and onto the highway, panting and disheveled. I desperately flagged down a passing truck. The driver took one look at my terrified face and didn't hesitate to pull over. I jumped into the cab, and with tires screeching, we sped away from that nightmarish forest. As I glanced back at the thick darkness of the Appalachian Mountains, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had narrowly escaped with my life. To this day, I swear this story is true. There is a cult, hidden in those ancient woods, performing dark and unholy rituals beneath the veil of night, and I, as a witness to their malevolent deeds, can never forget the haunting sight of the black-robed figures gathered around a flickering bonfire, bathed in the eerie glow of the moonless night. It was a balmy evening in Minneapolis when I set out on my hitchhiking adventure to Portland, Oregon. Filled with excitement, I waved goodbye to the city's skyline. Little did I know that the journey ahead would take a terrifying turn in the remote mountains outside Missoula, Montana. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself standing by the side of a lonely highway, my thumb outstretched to passing cars. Eventually, a trucker with a grizzled beard and a truck that had seen better days offered me a ride. Grateful, I climbed into the cab, and we embarked on the darkened road. Hours later, the trucker dropped me off along the desolate highway, deep within the Montana mountains. The night air was crisp, and I had no choice but to venture a bit off the road into the woods to find a place to sleep. Nestled under the canopy of trees, I settled down, my mind filled with thoughts of the miles yet to come. But as the hours passed and the moon hung high in the sky, an unsettling feeling washed over me. The woods were not as quiet as they should have been. Growls, low and guttural, echoed through the trees. My heart pounded in my chest as I strained to hear. The darkness seemed to come alive with ominous sounds, knocking on trees, heavy footsteps, and a musky, nauseating stench that hung in the air like a miasma. My instinct screamed danger, and I realized that I was not alone in those woods. Panic surged as a massive, shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. Its eyes glowed with an eerie intensity, and its form was colossal, hulking and covered in matted hair. I had heard stories of Sasquatch creatures, but nothing could have prepared me for the horrifying reality. This creature was no gentle giant. It was a predator, a monstrous force of nature. I knew I had to run for my life. I darted through the trees, my heart pounding in my ears, branches clawing at my skin. The Sasquatch gave chase. Its thunderous footsteps reverberated behind me. The growls grew louder, and I could almost feel its hot breath on my neck. Desperation fueled my flight. I found a rocky outcrop and scrambled onto it, praying it wouldn't follow. I held my breath, listening to the creature's heavy breathing and guttural growls below. Minutes felt like hours as I clung to my rocky refuge, paralyzed with fear. Finally, the growls faded into the distance, and the woods fell silent once more. The Sasquatch had given up its pursuit, at least for now. Summoning every ounce of courage, I crept back down from my outcrop, my limbs trembling. I ran, not caring where I was headed, only knowing that I needed to escape those terrifying woods. I sprinted up the nearby interstate, my breath ragged and my muscles burning. Eventually, someone pulled over and offered me a ride to a gas station. As I sat in a well-lit store, nursing a soda and munching on beef jerky, I tried to make sense of the harrowing experience I had just survived. The encounter with the Sasquatch had left me shaken to my core. A deep sense of dread settled in my chest. I realized that I would never venture into those woods or go camping again. The wilderness, once a place of adventure and freedom, had become a realm of unimaginable terror. With a heavy heart and haunted memories, I continued my journey to Portland, forever scarred by that night. My hitchhiking adventure had taken a nightmarish turn, a chilling reminder that there are mysteries in the wild places of the world that are best left unexplored.